Welcome, one and all, to another episode of If You Condone This Shit, They're Gonna Own Your Shit. I'm here with my co-host, Big Kenny. How you doing, Kenny?
What up, Scalwag? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing okay. We missed the podcast last week, but we're going to jump in with both feet right today. So, before we left, we were talking about the debate, and I'm going to let you start it off. Tell me what you think of the debate.
It was a shit show, and they were fact-checking Trump. It was fact-checking Kamala. Kamala got him on some good points and everything, and all that. It's entertainment, bro.
Well, here's the thing. They were fact-checking him because he was now Camilla told some lies, but they were on the what they would call the cusp. You wouldn't say it's how some things can be the truth and a lie at the same time. Okay, I'll give you an example of you can own a certain. Go ahead.
No, I was listening to you.
Okay, well, two things can be true, but Trump shit wasn't true at all when he said that Haitians were eating dogs and cats. Have you ever been to Hispaniola, the island of Hispaniola?
No.
Okay, the history of Haiti is a very interesting history. And, if you ever, you've heard the thing that says people have a hard on for a certain person or people.
A hard on?
Oh, well, they got it in for them. They don't like the motherfuckers. Okay. That's a hard on. That's what they call it. You say, you got a hard on for me.
I gotta get my mind out together.
Okay, well that's what we used to say in my job. We used to say, "You got a hard on for me, man. You trying to fuck me in every way." There'd be somebody sneaking. You've seen it, the political intrigue that comes from being in a work environment where you find some motherfucker and you don't know the reason why that motherfucker don't like you, but it's there. That motherfucker don't like you, okay? Mm. Now, I'm going to give you my insight, and this is just super, it's on the surface. I'm going to add some interesting facts to it. The United States does not like Haiti. And do you have an idea why the United States doesn't like Haiti?
They're black.
Okay, black's one good reason. Okay, but let me drop some history to you. Haiti was the first successful slave revolt in this hemisphere. Mind blown, huh, Kenny?
Yeah, I didn't know.
You didn't know that. They were the first fucking slaves to uprise and take that country over and kick the fucking French out. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and they did that in the lower 1800s. I'm going to put the fact on the fact sheets for in the podcast because I don't know it off the top of my head, but it was the lower 1800s. Okay, so they kicked the fucking French out. But you know what the great United States did to Haiti after that?
What was that? They
went to them and negotiated reparations for the slave owners, the people that owned the plantations. The United States set up the negotiation where Haiti had to pay fucking French reparations for their fucking freedom. Now, I wanted to blow your mind again. When the fucking 13 colonists went against King George, do you think they paid reparations to fucking England? Huh? Because they was fighting for their freedom too, right? Because here in a kingdom, a monarchy, everything you own is the king's. Okay? He's just letting you use it. Okay? That's the way a monarchy works. So all the fucking states that they had here, all of England's possessions was the king's, right? So it's just like those slaveholders in fucking Haiti. So what was different than that? So immediately after the fucking slaves revolted, they said to the French is going to come over there and fight a great war if you don't pay them reparations. And do you know that fucking Haiti was still paying reparations to the fucking French up until the 20th century? Almost 100 years afterwards. So you see, but you see how the fucked upness in the mind of a slaver, they didn't think anything about paying England reparations when they fucking broke with England. They kicked their ass and they said, get the fuck out. You think they paid them any money? Huh?
Hell no.
See? But they went over there to negotiate that with Haiti. And that's why Haiti is a poor ass country, because a lot of the wealth that was in Haiti went to paying reparations to the French. So they were still extracting wealth from Haiti. And if you look at the island of Hispaniola, okay, there's 2 countries on the island of Hispaniola. Do you know what the 2 countries are, Kenny?
No.
One is Haiti and one is the Dominican Republic. Okay, and one of them looks like a big old golf course with it's beautiful. It's got all these trees and it's wet, lush, and they grow shit there. And then Haiti, it's stripped because they've been trying to pay their fucking debt. Okay? They've mined and they've done all kinds of things. There was no land management. There's no building codes in Haiti. That's why every time there's a fucking earthquake, the fucking country falls apart because, they're working on a shoestring budget. But let me drop you another fucking knowledge bomb here, Kenny. They say that the longest war that we've ever been involved in was the war in Afghanistan, right? You've heard that one. See, now here's a lie that can be the truth. But I'll venture to tell you that in the lower 1900s, the fucking Marine Expeditionary Force went over there with a general called Smedley Butler, and they fought a war for an occupation of Haiti until the 1930s. And this is the early 1900s. And they went in there and robbed the fucking bank of Port-au-Prince. So when I tell you they have a hard-on for Haitians, have I not proved it through history right now? Okay. They got a fucking hard-on. But I'm going to tell you, I think that she wiped Trump's ass. She beat the shit out of Trump like a redheaded stepchild in that debate. And I am partial. I'll admit to that. But everybody else says it too. She fucking caught him. It was, I felt sorry for her. That's the only time I ever felt sorry for her. Because she was roping and he was the dope. She was roping him and he was the dope. So she fucked him like she slapped his ass around that fucking debate. Like every time he said something stupid, they have a meme on Twitter or X, as you might want to say it. They got her with all the different faces that she could make. She could make on him. Hold on, I'm trying to get this phone disconnected because they're gonna keep calling me, and I don't want that fucking ringer coming in here. Anyway, she beat him so bad, and you don't see that. You don't think she beat him. Her answers were way better than his. And when he was talking about, the state, everybody, Democrats, Republicans wanted the abortion to go to the states. No one ever said that. Most people were happy that the federal government intervened with Roe versus Wade because we had this patchwork of laws on abortion, and they gave it They created a human right for women to get abortions. Now, see, now somebody would say, now that's an out and out lie. Okay, no one ever said that. There wasn't any Democrat and Republicans who all wanted it. Maybe there were some Republicans, but not all. See, all gets you into trouble. If you say all, everybody, then you know you're lying, because everybody can't agree on peanut butter. How the fuck they gonna agree on legislation, huh?
Only one person I know that can go that long with peanut butter is my cousin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see? What I'm trying to say is that that's a lie. Okay. Now, I will expand upon her lie. She said that today there's no soldiers that are fighting an active war. Well, they're in war areas. They're in heightened areas, but they're not fighting a war. There's no declared war. In fact, the war in Afghanistan was not a declared war. It was one of these fucking, what you would call an administrative thing, but it wasn't a war. But it wasn't, there are places where we have soldiers all around the world. When you fucking are an imperialist government, you're going to have soldiers in everywhere. You have soldiers in Japan, soldiers in Germany, soldiers in Korea, soldiers all over, soldiers in Africa. Now, you're going to tell me that the local populace are going to be happy with that shit? You know, you have military bases, and then, you get a fucking bunch of drunken soldiers. You always are going to have some fucking kind of, friction in society. So then you stuck your fucking, the American government is over there in Syria, somewhere, I don't know. And so they're all over the world. But, what she's trying to say is a coordinated action. See, so I'm going to show you why they could be true. A coordinated action with a stipulated command and an active war plan against someone. I mean, you're having mission strikes against them. You're committing soldiers. You're dropping helicopter soldiers into their land all the time. You're having firefights every day. That's, to her, in her mind, a war action or close to a war action. So you see how both can be true?
Uh-huh.
See? So did I explain it correctly, Kenny?
I understand it.
See?
But when you're showing commercials of military people saying, so what in the hell are we in?
Well, yeah. Well, of course, you're going to find somebody is going to say, you can sit there and nitpick anything, but I think if you would ask her what was her mind thought, and I'm not going to do this, what they call sane-splaining that they do for Trump, like, did you see, I asked you to take a look at that fucking audio of him and the audio of him at the correspondence, the economist thing, where he was explaining about how he's going to help child care,
Uh-huh.
and if you watched it, he never answered the fucking question. Okay. And then some motherfucker gets on the news and insane splaining, which they tried to take the fucking meanderings of a madman and try to make it sound sane. That's why they say it's called sane splaining. But anyway, that's where we are. So, but I thought, and I think if you had to choose somebody who won, you would probably come up with Kamala too, wouldn't you, Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when she came back with him and said that the women, because I'm of the impression, I'm kind of a liberal kind of guy, but I have been conservative from time to time. But what I will tell you is that most conservatives will tell you the first thing is that they don't want government in their business. Okay? I live in a conservative state, and everybody will tell you, I don't want government in my fucking business. I want them out of my business. I don't want government telling me what the fuck to do. then why does these faux conservatives tell women what they can do with their body? See, men have got to get out of this fucking realm, thinking that they can control a woman. A woman is an individual, okay? You don't purchase them. You don't own them. You don't own any person, okay? They're there with you if they love you or they're willing to be with you. That's it. Anything else, there's an ejection button somewhere. You know, if it's a marriage, there's a divorce. If it's a relationship, you can just walk the fuck out the door. Any of these things, there's nothing that makes them compatible. I've heard all this bullshit about these, like Mike Johnson, and says he's got a covenant marriage, so all he did was make it harder for him to escape. You know. But the fact of the matter is, you know, you're not locked at, there's very few countries that you're locked into marriage. And I think that's a smart thing. I don't think two people should be sitting in the fucking house and trying to kill each other. Okay? Because you ever been in a bad relationship, my brother, you want an ejection. That's what, you know, we used to have a saying on the fire department. They said, you know why divorce is so expensive?
What?
Because it's worth it. Because it's worth the fucking money to get that crazy person out of your fucking head. So anyway, but yeah, I think that Trump got his ass handed to him, and by that, and he's been saying, "Oh, I won." Well, if you won, why ain't you ready to do it again? I just said, let me give the dates here because I didn't. Today is September 22nd, 2024. I usually give that at the front end of this, but Kenny had called me earlier, and now he caught me with my pants around my ankle like the jerk. So I had to come into it, but we're gonna try something new on the podcast as a talking point, because you know you always ask me, Kenny, say, how did we get here? How did this happen? Okay, right? You always tell me, well, tell me, how did this happen? Well, hey, I found it's a Substack, but it's from Heather Cox Richardson. I've been following her for like, probably about, 3 or 4 years. And I donate to her Substack, to her once a year. She has letters to an American is, I think they're her podcast. And she also has a book, I think it's called How the South Won the Civil War. But anyway, in this, this is dated September 20th, 2024, and it's kind of like an anthology thing that will show you how we got to where we are now. So, without further ado, I am going to try to play this through the machine. I've jury rigged this so that it will come through the mic. So it's going to be kind of let's see how the sound quality is. Here, hold on.
September 20th, 2024, by Heather Cox Richardson. On September 16th, CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton wrote that while it's pretty clear that Democratic candidate Vice President Kamala Harris is ahead nationally right now, her advantage in the battlegrounds is basically nil. Average it all, Harris's chance of winning the popular vote is 70%. Her chance of winning the Electoral College is 50%. 2 days later, on September 18th, Senator Lindsey Graham skipped votes in the Senate to travel to Nebraska, where he tried to convince state legislators to switch the state's system of allotting electoral votes by district to a winner-take-all system. That effort so far appears unsuccessful. In a country of 50 states and Washington, D.C., a country of more than 330 million people, presidential elections are decided in just a handful of states, and it is possible for someone who loses the popular vote to become president. We got to this place thanks to the Electoral College, and to 2 major changes made to it since the ratification of the Constitution. The men who debated how to elect a president in 1787 worried terribly about making sure there were hedges around the strong executive they were creating so that he could not become a king. Some of the delegates to the Constitutional Convention wanted Congress to choose the president, but this horrified others who believed that a leader and Congress would collude to take over the government permanently. Others liked the idea of direct election of the president, but this worried delegates from smaller states, who thought that big states would simply be able to name their own favorite sons. It also worried those who pointed out that most voters would have no idea which were the leading men in other states, leaving a national institution like the Organization of Revolutionary War Officers called the Society of the Cincinnati, the power to get its members to support their own leader, thus finding a different way to create a dictator. Ultimately, the framers came up with the election of a president by a group of men well known in their states but not currently office holders, who would meet somewhere other than the seat of government and would disband as soon as the election was over. Each elector in this so-called electoral college would cast 2 votes for president. The man with the most votes would be president, and the man with the second number of votes would be vice president, a system that the 12th Amendment ended in 1804. The number of electors would be equal to the number of senators and representatives allotted to each state in Congress. If no candidate earned a majority, the House of Representatives would choose the president, with each state delegation casting a single vote. In the first 2 presidential elections, in 1788 to 1789 and 1792, none of this mattered very much, since the electors cast their ballots unanimously for George Washington. But when Washington stepped down, leaders of the newly formed political parties contended for the presidency. In the election of 1796, Federalist John Adams won, but Thomas Jefferson, who led the Democratic Republicans, which were not the same as today's Democrats or Republicans, was keenly aware that had Virginia given him all its electoral votes, rather than splitting them between him and Adams, he would have been president. On January 12, 1800, Jefferson wrote to the governor of Virginia, James Monroe, urging him to back a winner-take-all system that awarded all Virginia's electoral votes to the person who won the majority of the vote in the state. He admitted that dividing electoral votes by district would be more likely to be an exact representation of voters' diversified sentiments, but defending his belief that he was the true popular choice in the country in 1796, said voting by districts would give a result very different from what would be the sentiment of the whole people of the U.S., were they assembled together. Virginia made the switch. Alarmed, the Federalists in Massachusetts followed suit to make sure Adams got all their votes, and by 1836, every state but South Carolina, where the legislature continued to choose electors until 1860, had switched to winner-take-all. This change horrified the so-called father of the Constitution, James Madison, who worried that the new system would divide the nation geographically and encourage sectional tensions. He wrote in 1823 that voting by district rather than winner-take-all was mostly, if not exclusively, in view when the Constitution was framed and adopted. He proposed a constitutional amendment to end winner-take-all. But almost immediately, the Electoral College caused a different crisis. In 1824, electors split their votes among 4 candidates: Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay, and William Crawford, and none won a majority in the Electoral College. Although Jackson won the most popular votes and the most electoral votes, when the election went to the House, the state delegations chose Adams, the son of former President John Adams. Furious Jackson supporters thought a developing elite had stolen the election, and after they elected Jackson outright in 1828, the new president on December 8, 1829, implored Congress to amend the Constitution to elect presidents by popular vote. To the people belongs the right of electing their chief magistrate, he wrote. It was never designed that their choice should in any case be defeated, either by the intervention of electoral colleges or the House of Representatives. Jackson warned that an election in the House could be corrupted by money or power or ignorance. He also warned that under the present mode of election a minority may elect a president, and such a president could not claim legitimacy. He urged Congress to amend our system that the office of Chief Magistrate may not be conferred upon any citizen but in pursuance of a fair expression of the will of the majority. But by the 1830s, the population of the North was exploding while the South was falling behind. The Constitution counted enslaved Americans as 3/5 of a person for the purposes of representation, and direct election of the president would erase that advantage slave states had in the Electoral College. Their leaders were not about to throw that advantage away. In 1865, the 13th Amendment ended slavery, except as punishment for a crime, and scratched out the 3/5 clause, meaning that after the 1870 census, the Southern states would have more power in the Electoral College than they did before the war. In 1876, Republicans lost the popular vote by about 250,000 votes out of 8.3 million cast, but kept control of the White House through the Electoral College. As Jackson had warned, furious Democrats threatened rebellion. They never considered Republican Rutherford B. Hayes, whom they called Rutherfraud, a legitimate president. In 1888 it happened again. Incumbent Democratic President Grover Cleveland won the popular vote by about 100,000 votes out of 11 million cast, but Republican candidate Benjamin Harrison took the White House thanks to the 36 electoral votes from New York, a state Harrison won by fewer than 15,000 votes out of more than 1.3 million cast. Once in office, he and his team set out to skew the Electoral College permanently in their favor. Over 12 months in 1889 to 1890, they added 6 new, sparsely populated states to the Union, splitting the territory of Dakota in 2 and adding North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Washington, Idaho, and Wyoming, while cutting out New Mexico and Arizona, whose inhabitants they expected would vote for Democrats. The 20th century brought another wrench to the Electoral College. The growth of cities, made possible thanks to modern industry, including the steel that supported skyscrapers, and transportation and sanitation, created increasing population differences among the different states. The Constitution's framers worried that individual states might try to grab too much power in the House by creating dozens and dozens of congressional districts, so they specified that a district could not be smaller than 30,000 people. But they put no upper limit on district sizes. After the 1920 census revealed that urban Americans outnumbered rural Americans, the House in 1929 capped its numbers at 435 to keep power away from those urban dwellers, including immigrants, that lawmakers considered dangerous, thus skewing the Electoral College in favor of rural America. Today, the average congressional district includes 761,169 individuals, more than the entire population of Wyoming, Vermont, or Alaska, which weakens the power of larger states. In the 21st century, the earlier problems with the Electoral College have grown until they threaten to establish permanent minority rule. A Republican president hasn't won the popular vote since voters re-elected George W. Bush in 2004, when his popularity was high in the midst of a war. The last Republican who won the popular vote in a normal election cycle was Bush's father, George H.W. Bush, in 1988, 36 years and 9 cycles ago. And yet, Republicans who lost the popular vote won in the Electoral College in 2000, George W. Bush over Democrat Al Gore, who won the popular vote by about 500,000 votes, and in 2016, when Democrat Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by about 3 million votes but lost in the Electoral College to Donald Trump. In our history for presidents, all Republicans have lost the popular vote and won the White House through the Electoral College. Trump's 2024 campaign strategy appears to be to do it again, or to create such chaos that the election goes to the House of Representatives, where there will likely be more Republican-dominated delegations than Democratic ones. In the 2024 election, Trump has shown little interest in courting voters. Instead, the campaign has thrown its efforts into legal challenges to voting and, apparently, into eking out a win in the Electoral College. The number of electoral votes equals the number of senators and representatives to which each state is entitled, 100 plus 435, plus 3 electoral votes for Washington, D.C., for a total of 538. A winning candidate must get a majority of those votes, 270. Winner-take-all means that presidential elections are won in so-called swing or battleground states. Those are states with election margins of less than 3 points, so close they could be won by either party. The patterns of 2020 suggest that the states most likely to be in contention in 2024 are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, although the Harris-Walz campaign has opened up the map, suggesting its internal numbers show that states like Florida might also be in contention. Candidates and their political action committees focus on those few swing states, touring, giving speeches and rallies, and pouring money into advertising and ground operations. But in 2024, there is a new wrinkle. The Constitution's framers agreed on a census every 10 years so that representation in Congress could be reapportioned according to demographic changes. As usual, the 2020 census shifted representation, and so the pathway to 270 electoral votes shifted slightly. Those shifts mean that it is possible the election will come down to one electoral vote. Awarding Trump the one electoral vote Nebraska is expected to deliver to Harris could be enough to keep her from becoming president. Rather than trying to win a majority of voters, just 49 days before the presidential election, Trump supporters, including Senator Graham, are making a desperate effort to use the Electoral College to keep Harris from reaching the requisite 270 electoral votes to win. It is unusual for a senator from one state to interfere in the election processes in another state, but Graham similarly pressured officials in Georgia to swing the vote there toward Trump in 2020.
Okay, that's it. So, we have learned how the Electoral College work and how did we get here, how it's been used in the past, and how a low-life scumbag called Andrew Johnson was right. See, remember I told you about the stop clock?
Yeah.
Okay, you get the stop clock award. Andrew Johnson, who was a low-life motherfucker who was his only fucking claim to fame was the Battle of New Orleans, another slaving motherfucker. And also he was responsible for the Trail of Tears. And the only thing beyond that you could say good about him, he was the first president to defy the Supreme Court because the Indians won in the Supreme Court. And he says, well, you have your verdict. Now let you enforce it. Because the Supreme Court has no army, no enforcement mechanism. They only work on our good faith. So, anyway.
So they really don't have no power.
Only the power for us to willingly follow them. That's it. Once you stop willingly following them, they're done. You don't have to, when you say, I don't want to follow you, you're fucked. See, that's why they always say the rule of law. And that's why they've been shitting in their mess kit with all these Trump verdicts, trying to, sway the law on the favor of Trump. So all the populists have to do once they start losing their what do they call it? Their credibility with the populists, then they'll just say, well, we don't have to enforce that because another one of the things that caused the Civil War was the Dred Scott decision, where they said, everybody has to be help the slaver bring in the slaves. So, and Lincoln says, well, I'm not going to enforce that. And then all the people, the South said, well, if you're not going to let us get our property back, we're fucking going to get, it kind of sound like that. So
that what they were saying? They were calling slaves property?
Of course, that's what they were. They were property. Yeah, so, that's what and that's, like I said, we come back around to the fucking Haitians, why they hate the Haitians so much. But if you look into history, there has been other successful slave revolts. There was one in Panama that had a successful slave revolt. So there's, slaves, and then there was a little bitty slave revolt in Louisiana that a little known one, but it lasted for about a month or so, and they brought in cannons and took them down. But other than that, like I said, that's why they hate the Haitians, because they're the only ones that was able to pull it off and continue to just keep their freedom. But the United States has done every fucking thing it can to fuck them out of their freedom. So, because they're slaves that got got their freedom through their own blood. So that's why that's why they hate Haitians. And and I'll tell you another thing, Haiti, in the 60s, overran that fucking island of Hispaniola. And so it would have been, the whole island would have been Haiti. But you know what the United States did? Come on.
What's that?
You
What's
know,
that?
they brought tanks in there to fight against the Haitians in the 60s to fucking take over. I went to Dominican Republic, and, you know, I was hanging out at this hotel, and they had a bunch of history books. So while I was lounging on the beach, I read some of the history, and I was not aware of that fact, that there was a fucking, they almost overthrown the fucking country of Dominican Republic. So, but anytime the Haitians try to do anything, or any other class, you'll have the, like, in Costa Rica, there's a bunch of Caribbean people that I don't think they were slaves. I just think they were migrant workers, and they went to Costa Rica to work the farms, but they treated them like slaves. Well, they had an uprising too, and guess who came to the regular country of Costa Rica's defense?
Tell me, Scally, who was it?
It was fucking US of A, the United Slaver State. So they came to their aid to keep make sure that the slaves didn't win, because, you know, if you're trying to say that people are inferior, it kind of fucks up your argument when those people become successful, isn't it? Doesn't that fuck up your argument when they excel and they could take over a country? So that's a brief history lesson brought to you by the Scalwag. So anyway,
Go on with your best self. Give Scally a clap of applause for that one right there.
yeah. So I could give me where's my applauder meter? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, yes. Thank you. Donations are well accepted. Anyway, but
It's crazy.
so anyway, now in the news this week, there has been a lot because we missed the we're catching up. I was reading in an article, and it says that Justice John Roberts, who when he became the Supreme Court's Chief Justice appointed by George W. Bush, he was saying that all he was supposed to do is call balls and strikes. You know, he was just going to interpret the law as the Constitution. Well, some sneaky bastard working for the Supreme Court released his fucking notes and stuff, where he was bending over like a fucking pretzel man trying to make sure that Donald Trump won that fucking lawsuit of Donald Trump versus the United States. He cornered all the justices and trying to get a unanimous judgment, and he has been in Trump's pocket for then. So what is he? Nothing but a fucking he is a political hack, because you know how he helped. He was on the, what they call it, the Brooks Brothers revolt in Florida in 2000, where when George W. Bush was running, and they went to the election offices, and all these guys in suits were creating a riot, and they brought it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, this is the one time we're going to intervene, and we're saying that if the Supreme Court of Florida had said that they had to do a recount, and if they would have done a recount, the vice president, Clinton's vice president, Al Gore, probably would have won.
Gore.
Huh?
No, it was Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore, vice president. He was vice president to Clinton at the time. Well, anyway, the Supreme Court said, "Hey, we're going to have a recount," and see, Gore didn't ask for a recount of the whole state. He asked for a recount of certain counties. But I think the Supreme Court there, I may not be right. So if somebody come back and say, "Oh, you messed up, Sally." So I'm going to tell you right now that no, I didn't mess up. I don't know the facts right now. I'm going off the top of my pea brain. But what the Supreme Court of Florida said, okay, we're going to do. But, he went and brought that to the Supreme Court of the United States. And they said this one time only, we're going to intervene because guess what? Because George W. Bush would be irreparably harmed if that vote, if the recount was had. Of course, he'd be irreparably harmed. What about why is he more important than Al Gore? The people are the people of the nation. All of this.
So, Callie, you really think Gore won that state?
Oh yeah, I think he'd run it. There's been they had a bunch of news agencies that went back and years later, and then 9/11 happened, and they had they went through all of the hanging tabs and all the rest of it, and they think by a preponderance, I'm just saying by the majority of all the evidence, if you would have taken into account everything, it would have swayed to Gore. But, nobody's going to tell you that now because, but because he was in 9/11, the news people didn't pick it up. Because they said, oh, we don't want to fuck up his wartime presidency. And everybody was singing Kumbaya while they were dropping bombs on the Afghanis and Iraqis. That was their big, that was why it didn't come out. But if you look at some old newspaper articles, there's some newspaper, I've read through them, and some kind of hem and haw, but most of them say, well, I think he probably would have won if we would have looked at by the what you have to look up by the rules that they had at this present time. Now, at that time they had a Secretary of State in Florida who went ahead and was taking threw a whole bunch like 100,000 people off the voter rolls before that election. And that 100,000 people were mostly black and, and maybe elderly people who vote mostly Democrat. So they took them off the list. So, and he won by 538 votes. Okay. So if you didn't know that, did you?
No.
See, another, you just learned so much shit from this place. Anyway. So, he got 500.
You know what? I know this. If you got money, you can get shit pulled off, even if you're wrong, bro.
Oh, of course you can. That's what with the justice. You'd think those rich motherfuckers, those slaver motherfuckers, didn't decide that they wanted to keep the what they called, what I think it was the John Adams who said the rabble, the poor motherfuckers. They wanted to have an aristocracy. They were all for it because they were all slavers. They're always making money, so you want to talk about some backstabbing. Remember, I told you everybody got their power from the king, and all these fuckers comes over here and got farms and stuff. And these ungrateful bastards fought against the king and took the money making shit that he was getting, so, but they didn't, they felt that, it's ours. It's the American way. You've heard these people, somebody builds a business, and no matter if they get small business loans or whatever, and they get lucky or they do some things, and then they'll turn around and tell you, I built this, and they'll forget about the roads that brought their shit to market. They'll forget about the regulations that made sure that they had water to do their plants. They have people that were educated and all this other shit that was, you didn't build shit. You just, you was able to get benefit from it. See, but you always want to think, oh, I did it all. It's all mine. He said, yeah, forget about the colleges, the people, the smart people that's working for you. All that was built by the infrastructure of America, and that somebody didn't come into your.
Which is the slave, the infantry, and the mother.
Oh well,
but the more you dip down in this history shit, bro, you get pissed off more. They would have been lynched my ass because I would have been going against them.
Well, see, that's the thing is that, see, history's a motherfucker, and that's why people don't want to teach it. That's why they don't want to tell people. They don't want to tell kids the stuff because, you know, sooner or later they get to be able to understand shit. Well, we did this. Oh, we did that. You did that. You know, just like I was telling you, I was riding a bus in the middle of fucking Costa Rica. I mean, this is way up in the mountains, and we passed this park. And the bus driver's talking in English, and he says, well, this is where we repelled a Marine Expeditionary Force that invaded Costa Rica. And I said, what the fuck? When did I hear about this? I ain't never heard of this. So they got a bunch of statues of women and pitchforks, and they got a bunch of fucking American soldiers on the ground getting their ass beat. So, but this guy went. Yeah, they got their ass whooped. That's where they got their ass whooped, and they let them leave the country. But yeah, they everywhere they
get your ass whipped. You can go back home and let everybody know.
Yeah, and they say you come here again, you're gonna get your ass whooped again. So that's kind of so. There's probably no country that we haven't have our, you know, what do they say, stuck our dick into, you know, to fuck with. So there's always, I mean, you can't name a country except for England, maybe. You probably can't say that we fuck with England because they're one of the OG, the original gangsters, the original fucking thieving bastards.
But England can't fuck with us now.
Well, that's true. But, you know, like what I said, there's probably no country on this earth that we've never, okay, well, England, fuck it. Let's say you heard of the War of 1812, right?
Si, senor.
Yeah, okay. You know, that's the War of 1812. You know, the fucking English won. You know that, don't you? They got to fucking Washington. They got to Washington, D.C. and burned the fucking White House down. You didn't.
1812.
Wait, what?
How old was 1812?
You were dead, but hey, that's why there's a history lesson. See what they were trying to do? They were trying to take over Canada. See, that's what their original thing. They said, "Oh, well, fuck, we beat fucking England, so we can fucking we'll just take the rest of this fucking." See, because they're always greedy. So they said, "Oh, we'll go fuck over Canada." I'm just being oversimplification, but these motherfuckers got all the way to fucking Washington and burned the fuck. Dolly Madison saved all the fucking paintings and shit. And when they got there, the fucking British was eating the food that was on the fucking stove. Huh? So
I bet they said, "This some good cornbread right here."
Yeah. And the only and that's how fucking Andrew Jackson got fucking famous is because he got a fucking swamp rats from Louisiana, and they beat him on the battle of New Orleans. Okay, if it wasn't for that,
was Napoleon punk ass, huh?
No, the Battle of New Orleans.
Miro.
This
what
was
about Miro. That was Miro.
No. This is in the War of 1812. So that's how fucking at least I think that I might be wrong. When I do the show notes, I'll check it out. But I think that I've had a discussion with this recently, and I think it was 1814 when it came to the end. But he saved the nation and kept the nation from fucking going, the British from taking it all back, you know, because they had a formidable group of people, and the British was already extended beyond their lines. So they had Indians fighting, and what the British, one of the only asks that the British did was for the United States to treat the American Indians respectful when and they had got some land stuff and stuff like that, but they wanted them to respect Canada as a sovereign nation, and they wanted them to respect they created a treaty that had to respect the indigenous nations. So you know how that worked out. They didn't respect any of that shit, but they did respect Canada. So that's why Canada's still there. So anyway, long story short, that history's a motherfucker. So we've talked about that, and then we talked about tariffs. What we're going to do in this last couple of minutes is talk about tariffs. And this is one of the things that I think Kamala was mostly right. She was saying that tariffs, he said, who pays tariffs? You think the country that's that's sending the product pays tariffs, or the person who buys the product? What do you think? Tariffs? Who pays for?
I think we've been paying the fucking tariff.
Of course. See, and that's what Trump said. He's going to go up to 20% tariffs, and that's why all of the economists has been saying that Kamala is right, because she said that 20% tariff that he wants to put on shit. See, a tariff has good and bad. It's kind of like things can be good and evil too, because a tariff was normally put in, okay, let's say that your country makes shoes, okay? They make shoes, and then importer wants to bring in, you make shoes, and the shoes are going for like $12. People are buying them for $12, okay? And all your people that are in the countries working on doing these shoes. A lot of people are working. They're cobblers and shit, and they're making shoes, right? So you put a tariff on something to equalize so it doesn't undermine your homegrown industries. Okay, so when those $2 shoes come in from England or Japan or whatever, you put a tariff on there to equalize the price. Okay. So that people will say, oh, well, I'd rather buy from the people that live in this country than to buy from another country. And all countries have a degree of that. We talked about Costa Rica having a 50% tax. They call it a VAT tax, but it actually is a tariff. What they do is they, you buy something, and they don't make fucking computers in Costa Rica, but the country wants to they don't have a lot of income tax, so they tax everything that you buy. So if you buy a laptop, it's got a 50% VAT tax on it, so they'll get their money that way. Now, so that's the way you pay. And tariffs for for the first 75 years of the United States, tariffs paid for everything. They paid for the government. They paid for the Navy. They paid for the soldiers. They paid for everything. And then they, I think it was in the 1800s that they started having an income tax. And it started out small. But by the turn of the century, income tax was, they voted on it in the Constitution. And there's some fucking stuff that says the vote wasn't really legal, but they still got it passed, so that that they can tax your income. Anyway, long story short, tariff is just a tax on your own people, and like I said, the good part of it is it protects industries, and then the bad part of it is that if you're trying to if there's no industry, let's just say they created. If all the chips were made like they are until we get our chip plants up in Taiwan, and you put a VAT tax on them, then what you're doing is taxing your people more, making them pay more for the product. Okay? That's not fair to your people. But if you had an industry...
So the way Trump was saying it, It was like they was paying it just like how
Yeah,
Mexico was
nobody.
paying for the wall.
See, and
And
I
ain't
read
none of that shit.
I read in the magazine, I think it was The Economist I was reading, and I don't really read it a lot of time, but they were trying to hide the fact that it's a tax on people. And they said, well, sometimes if you have a small tariff, the importer will go to the exporter and say, well, they put a tariff on there. Well, you cut your price. And there's enough cushion in the price. Well, they might go and say, okay, well, I'll split the difference to you. So sometimes that does have some truth to it, but not if you go broad spectrum on it. If you go with food and stuff like that. Do you know that most of the pork ranches in the United States are owned by Chinese? You know, like big old hog farms.
That's crazy as hell, huh, bro?
Yeah. Well, you know, if they want to stop you from having bacon, the motherfuckers can say, oh, okay, well, we own the farm. We don't have to sell it to you. We can just ship that shit to China, put it on a ship.
But I think that's why I be getting fucking sick, because they know my fat ass love that bacon.
Yeah, I know.
I can't even digest that shit no more. I can't even digest that shit no more.
Yeah, well, you know, a pig farm is it is a hazardous waste nightmare because they have all these fucking, these little lakes of pig. Well, they have a lake full of pig shit. They shovel all the pig shit and put it into like a lake, and it leaches into the ground and shit like that. So, and I'll come up with the real name of it in the show notes, but that's one of the problems.
What they said in Mad Max, it said, not shit, energy.
Energy, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that's, and then today in the news, Kamala said she wanted to do another debate with Donald Trump, and he says, oh, it's too late because the election is already started. So, but he had already agreed to it and said that he was going to do it. But now, since she handed him, that's how you know you got your ass handed to you, is because that person don't want to do it anymore, you know? Kind of like in Rocky. You know what they say in Rocky when fucking Apollo Creed came up there. He said, ain't gonna be no rematch. I don't want no more. Do you remember that part? And fucking Rocky, he said, I don't want no fucking more of this guy. Fuck that. I don't want another rematch. So he got all beat the fuck up. So
now you're gonna go make me watch this shit again, because I remember there was a little problem with him. He didn't really want to fight him again. Yeah. Even his manager kept saying, "Yo, man, no, that Italian gonna put it on your ass."
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't want another rematch or some shit like that. But that's what I'm talking about, is that when you get your ass handed to you, if you feel that you could have won it, you would be you would have jumped right back in the ring, you know?
Yeah, you went back in that shit.
Yeah, you know, it's like Muhammad Ali made his whole career about coming back after fights, you know? He said, okay, he said, I come back and do the rope-a-dope on, was it on George Frazier that he did the rope-a-dope?
Frazier,
Joe Frazier. He fucking just rope-a-doped him, you know? And who knows, was that a good thing? Because fucking he fucking probably fucked up his brain by getting all that fucking hits, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, but it worked for the present time. But as I said, you know, I don't think he wants another one, because if he were to do another one, he probably would get his ass handed to him. And I think that was supposed to be done in October. So, you know, but I don't think it's going to happen. But, you know, here's the other thing that's interesting that they say they're going to do. That I think both campaigns are going to agree with. They're going to do 60 Minutes. It's going to do an interview with them back to, you know, on the same day. So they'll show it on the same day. So the voters can make a decision. So they'll come up with, you know, 60 Minutes. And but here's the thing: who they're going to do first, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably do a coin toss and say, who won the coin toss, and they'll be the first one to do the show first on the little segment. So look for that. That's going to be one of the things that's going to be coming out. But yeah, that's what is going to be coming out. And Look Debate will have the dueling brain trust, and that's going to be good because see what happens is 60 Minutes will have a chance to look through both of their statements and say who had errors, So, and that will give the people, but here's the thing. The people are the 36% people that are on Trump, that love Trump, ain't going to change him. I walk every morning, and I've walked through a heavy conservative area, and I only seen one person pull their Trump sign out, and I think that that's one of the things. But the other thing we didn't talk to said, so let me finish this. But I only saw one person remove their sign. So out of all the people, and Trump's went through a lot of stuff. He's doing that weave thing where he says he weaves a discussion, and he sits up here, starts a story, and go left and right and up and down, and then he weaves it in like a poetic genius, and have his people all enthralled at the end of it. And he brings it all together because he said many people, many English people, many writers have told them it's amazing what he did, because that's the way he did. Everybody loves him. Everybody says this about him. But yeah, that's that one. But let's talk about, remember we started that America has a hard-on for Haitians. So he's in that debate, he said that he was talking about the fucking Haitians in Springfield, in Ohio, that they were saying that they were eating pets. Okay. And so it's only a racist trope that he comes up with. Foreigners, it's always been like, you've heard the shit about Chinese restaurants and they have cats, so they're serving cats and all this other bullshit. All this is a bigoted rant, And he was this interesting thing, and I think it said that in the little audio that we played, that he was told before that debate that wasn't true by a reputable news magazine. But no, it doesn't make any difference to him, because he's a racist and he's going to tell what he wants to tell. And he's feeding the other racists who want that to be true. See? And as I said, they got a hard on for the Haitians already. Haitian, they think Haiti is this, this horrible place. Remember what I said when they created this country by robbing them and stealing from them, and then not giving them the ability to add infrastructure into Haiti. They have embargoes on money to Haiti and stuff, investment in Haiti, so they're, they're always fucking Haiti. So these people, I've known Haitians and I've worked with them, and they're competent people, they're smart people. Look at the people that they're sending out there, like the lady who's the press secretary I've never, except for Jen Psaki for Joe Biden, she's right up there. She's right next to Jen Psaki as one of the best press secretaries there is. So, and she's from Haiti. Play us out and I will talk us out, because I know you ain't going to be here when I go. So I'm going to put die in vain right now. You take until next week, my friend. I will talk to you later.
All right, Scalwag. The world is spinning out of control. A never-ending cycle of blood and soul. Families torn apart, children left alone. As they march to the battlefield with hearts of stone. Why are they killing everyone? Is it worth the damage done? Our tears fall like the rain as we watch them die in vain. Bombs exploding, bullets flying all around us. There's no denying the horror of war. The price we pay for our leaders, greed, day after day. Why are they killing everyone? Is it worth the damage done? Our tears fall like the rain as we watch them die in vain.
And there we go. Another episode in the can. Catch us next week or the next episode for If You Condone This Shit, They're Gonna Own Your Shit. Scalwag out.